Hello, I am Lori Sauer, Associate Librarian for Digital Initiatives and Collections here at Knox. This presentation is designed to help you determine the value of information sources. This will help you answer the questions: is this a reliable source? Should I cite it in my paper? Is it appropriate for an academic paper? Question all the sources you come across. You will be able to quickly determine the relative value of any source if you focus on three characteristics of a source. Number one, the author's credentials. Number two, the editorial process. Number three, the purpose of the publication. Let's look at each of these characteristics. The author of a source can have a range of credentials and can even be unknown. Your task is twofold. One, determine the identity of the author, and in some cases it's not always apparent. And then number two, determine the background of the author. As you can see from this diagram, some works will not have any author listed. Those would be of an unknown authorship or even anonymous. A corporate author is the organization that takes responsibility for the work if no individual author is given. In general, for academic work at Knox, it is best to concentrate on finding sources produced by professionals or academic professionals. So those would be the types of authors in the two bubbles on the right. Very often, a source will display the author's credentials somewhere on the source. If no such statement of authorship exists, it is easy to Google the names of the authors and find the university or institutional web pages for them. On peer-reviewed journal articles, it is common to list the authors of a paper and also state the university or institution at which they work. And if no author is listed, try to figure out if an organization takes responsibility for the authorship, and then investigate that organization via Google. Let's look at some examples. Published in the journal Environmental and Engineering Geoscience has the author's name at the top, right here. Notice it's hyperlinked. When you click on it, you can quickly find out where this person worked at the time the article was written. And there are a couple of other handy links here in this display that will allow you to quickly know the person's research areas and depth of scholarly output. In this second example from Smithsonian Magazine, let's scroll down to where the author's name is listed, and you can see it's also hyperlinked. If you click on it, you get to find out that this person is a science journalist based in Richmond, Virginia. So not a scholar like the previous article. Continuing with the second of our three characteristics, we'll talk about the editorial process. The editorial process is the way the source was handled before it was published. Generally, you'll avoid materials that are personal works and the ones that are self-published, such as vanity press items. Group-edited works are sometimes useful as background information when you are learning about a new topic, but it's best to avoid citing these kinds of works. An example of a group-edited work would be Wikipedia. For academic, peer-reviewed sources are best. Edited sources from credentialed scholars can also be acceptable sometimes. So let's look at some examples now. This item from an edited work called The Dictionary of Physical Geography And on this page, it tells us that the dictionary has editors, up here at the top, and that the publisher is Blackwell. If we did more internet research, we would find out that Blackwell publishes a great deal of scientific information and enjoys a good reputation as a publisher of scientific information. Note also that this entry for subduction zones is signed, which means the author is known to us. It's written by Angus Duncan, and we also know the place where this person worked at the time the article was written. And we can, of course, find more information about Angus Duncan by doing a Google search and finding his institutional webpage. And this second example is an article in the journal called Bioscience. When we go to the About menu for the journal, click on About Bioscience, we do learn that the Bioscience journal is a peer-reviewed journal. It says so in the second paragraph. The third characteristic we need to focus on is the purpose of the publication. And the purpose of the publication speaks mainly to the intended audience of the work. In general, aim to collect sources that are produced for audiences in higher education. So again, the bubble on the right-hand side of the screen. Although there may also be times when commercially produced materials are relevant and reliable, as in the disciplines in some of the humanities and social sciences. Material produced by governmental agencies can also be desirable, such as those reports and investigations produced by scientists and engineers working for agencies such as the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the U.S. Geological Survey and other state governmental geological surveys. So for a couple of examples I want to show you next, I'm going to go back to the article in Bioscience, and I've clicked on the About Bioscience link, and in this section about the journal, we can see that the audience that they're looking for is researchers, educators, and students alike. So oftentimes you will see in a journal's web page in the About section who the intended audience is. The second example displays a fact sheet publication from the U.S. Geological Survey, and this is an example of an item produced by a governmental agency. There are some built-in ways to assist you on your way to finding reliable and relevant sources. I've got those in 3 different categories here. The first is to use the tools and methods supplied by your librarians. Librarians make our subscription databases and other resources accessible and available to you on the library's website, on course research guides, and in Knox Primo. And we work very hard to ensure that only reliable and relevant tools and resources are promoted. The second way is to use databases that cover only peer-reviewed sources. Web of Science is an example of one of those databases. Other databases, such as GeoRef and the Academic Search Complete database, primarily cover peer-reviewed sources, although in both of those some non-peer-reviewed material is included as well. And then finally, in many databases, you will see ways to limit your results to only peer-reviewed material. As in this screenshot example here, you can check a box after you get your results, and it will limit your results to scholarly peer-reviewed journals. If this limit is presented, it's a good idea to use it. Thank you very much. There will be a link on the course research guide to a chart with all of this data, And please note that the credit for this content is listed on this slide. Thank you.